Development update. So, as a bit of a change of pace, today we are going to be doing something pretty different. Welcome to the third development update of the Abyssal Crown, and today I have some absolutely gigantic news. So without further ado, let's get straight to the point. The absolute most important thing for me to mention right now is that Brutal Doom is no longer just a recommendation. Brutal Doom has officially become a requirement, and it will likely stay like this until the full release of the Abyssal Crown. The reasoning for this, you may ask? Well, when I started this project, I really wasn't very well versed in the land of Doom modding. When I started to work on this project, I was just a wee lass. I had no idea how to code, I had no idea of much of everything really. My most advanced things were a couple ACS scripts down in Ultimate Doom Builder to make some combat encounters feel lively. And as expected, as development went on more and more, I started to realize that I can use something like Slade. I started to realize I can actually add my own custom actors. I started to realize that I can make a PK3 file, which in retrospect sounds pretty funny. I had no idea how to make a PK3 and I thought it's like the most complicated thing ever. Turns out it's just a zip file, but instead of .zip, it's .pk3. And all of this has kind of culminated in what I can only really say as just, I can now code an entire mod. I have made an ungodly amount of changes to Brutal Doom as is. I have changed a lot of effects, I have changed code, I have fixed bugs, I have done so much to this goddamn instance. And so the reason Brutal Doom is now a dependency is because I can actually make my own sort of game, almost, within the bounds of Brutal Doom. Everything is now very much like tied together, there's systems that work with one another. Really, I'm just kind of going in circles at this point. But the thing I'm trying to get away from this is that Abyssal Crown is no longer going to just be a series of advanced levels. There's now going to be custom guns, custom systems, just a lot of revamped stuff you can think of. And so, I think it's time to kick these changes off, shall we? Probably the most apparent thing that I'm sure that all of you have noticed by now is that we now have a custom HUD. This is meant to be kind of a Doom 2016/Doom Eternal inspired HUD. I have actually tried to make one that looks very similar to Doom the Dark Ages, but it was really hard to actually make it all look good. A thing that is worth to mention at the end of the day is that I'm still just working with pixels. There's only so much I can do when it comes to visual clarity, especially when it comes to a HUD. So after many failed attempts and like a good 5 hours of coding, I eventually just kind of ditched that system and this new HUD was born. So as you can see, we have an armor, health, and ammo bar. The ammo isn't very obvious, I hope it is now. And as you can see now, if we pick up armor and what have you, the armor bar actually goes up higher. Granted, at this stage in development, it's not 100% finished. I would like to see if I can actually make it so the bars have a slightly different color when you are over 100. So for example, if you have like 100s and I don't know, let's say 48 health like this, that bar would have a slightly different color, like something more red-ish maybe? I don't know. Something to indicate that you have over health, basically. And as you may be able to see, it also has different icons depending on the kind of weapon you have equipped. The Nailgun ammo is still a little bit weird, I'm gonna be honest. Okay, next elephant to address in the room. There have been a lot of weapons just outright removed from Abyssal Crown. If I were to make a list, then it's going to be the axe, the pistol, the rifle, the SMG, the BFG 10,000, why did I clap? The Revenant arm cannons and the Mancubus cannon. The reason behind this is that they really just don't align with my kind of game design philosophy I'm going for. Those weapons aren't even bad on their own, absolutely not. But for the kind of thing that I'm trying to go for, it just doesn't fit, it doesn't align. So the pistol has been completely replaced with a whole ass Desert Eagle. From testing, and also everybody else testing, this has been an absolute godsend of a weapon. When adding this weapon originally, I was genuinely pretty scared that it's just going to be outright useless. Or not really outright useless, I wouldn't say outright useless. I was worried that it's either going to completely overshadow the shotgun, or the shotgun is going to completely overshadow it. The shotgun by no means is replaced, but most importantly, the deagle absolutely does not replace it either. I need to fix that. Oh yeah, there's a low health warning as well. And also every single time your armor gets broken, there's a whole armor breaking sequence as well. But all the new weapons don't just stop at a Desert Eagle. The rifle has quintessentially been replaced by the machine gun. This right here has genuinely become my favorite weapon in the entirety of the Abyssal Crown. Yes, it has a literal M1 Garand ping whenever it runs out of ammo and the drum mag just pops off to the left. Now, inherently this isn't a super useful weapon. I find it to be so much more satisfying than the rifle. Oh, this was my first ever cutscene. Oh my god. Oh my god, I don't know if I should update it or not. But the machine gun definitely does more damage than the rifle. It has a zoom function as well, so this is definitely still on the table. And it actually has a pretty specific niche. Or should I say, both of these weapons that are on the exact same slot have some synergy. So as is currently, the Desert Eagle does like, what was that, 380% extra damage to pain elementals? So whilst every other weapon is going to definitely do a lot less damage, a Desert Eagle is going to kill one in 3 hits. And what about the Lost Souls when they come out? Well, the Desert Eagle and the machine gun are in the exact same slot, on slot 2. It just so happens that the machine gun does, how much was that? I'm really forgetting my own values. 240% I believe extra damage to Lost Souls, which is 2 shots. So quintessentially, you can now just quick switch between weapons every single time a Lost Soul is present. Not a Lost Soul, a Pain Elemental. Granted, I am playing with no target and everything, but I can assure you that this is genuinely viable in the game. I have made a whole tutorial segment just to show this off because I think it's incredibly important to mention. The reality is though, that a lot of people just fucking hate Lost Souls and Pain Elementals. I can't blame them. I think Lost Souls are adorable, but I absolutely hate them as an enemy. Not in the traditional sense as in it's a poorly designed enemy, they're just annoying, and they really do their job very well. And so I figured that if I removed so many weapons, I may as well add a couple more that just fill in a bunch of niches. Oh, and don't worry, the chain gun is very much still in the game. It's much better when it comes to damage outputs, or just DPS rather. From my experience as well as a bunch of other people's, it genuinely feels like these two are very distinct weapons. Despite them both sharing the exact same ammunition type and being an automatic rifle weapon of sorts, they kind of just have their own purpose, and I am personally using the machine gun so much more than a minigun nowadays. Although, naturally, this is just better when it comes to dealing with something like this. More satisfying, but definitely a lot more ammo wasteful. Another thing I feel like I've neglected to mention is the fact that melee is absolutely a valuable choice from the get-go. No longer are you bound to the chains of Berserk. You now have absolutely massive damage with your fists. Holy shit. I'm gonna be so honest, I think this is such a bad level to actually show this off in. Ah, finally, some peace and quiet. So, pay attention to the health bar at the very top center of the screen. As per usual, I genuinely forgot the damage values, but they're pretty high now. In addition, those that have played Doom before are probably aware of the fact that Q by default is the kick key. Well, that has been changed quite drastically now, as when you press Q, you actually have a full 4-combo melee attack. This combo you can do anytime, with any weapon, it doesn't matter. Here I am with my pump shotgun, I could be firing it and pressing Q. For the record, you are not forced to do the whole combo. You can simply press Q once and that's going to do 1 fist attack, or you can press it twice and it's going to do 2. If you press it 3 times, you're going to do the uppercut. And if you press it 4 times, you're going to do the full combo. This combo is pretty fucking devastating. It does 600 damage. I think you are absolutely in the right to say that this sounds unbalanced, but I can confidently tell you that I have obsessively playtested this melee system, and surprisingly it really isn't that bad. The thing you have to remember though is that despite this being very heavily damaging, you still have to go in a demon's face to actually do all of that damage with. as opposed to your guns just simply allowing you to kill enemies at a comfortable distance. Another thing I wholeheartedly believe is worth to address as well when it comes to this new melee system is that when you are mid-attacks, very specifically when you are mid any attack, you have a 60% damage reduction. As you may be able to see, when you have armor, you take 50% less damage. So a Baron Ball does exactly 25 damage to your health and your armor. Well, now when you're mid-attack, as you may be able to see, that did 10. Once again, from my relatively extensive testing, this is not actually as unbalanced as it may sound. The thing I want to achieve with this whole system is that I badly want melee to be something viable that people can use whenever they want. Likewise, this exact same treatment has been applied to the chainsaw. So now when you actually attack, you also have can you? Thank you. So now when you attack, you also have the 60% damage reduction. Same goes with the alt-fire. On top of that, as expected, the chainsaw damage has been significantly buffed. And despite this, you still have to remember you have to be up in their face, and the chainsaw very much locks you onto a singular target. Even with a 60% damage reduction, there's going to be a lot of fucking demons that are going to be trying to do damage to you whilst you're locking onto that Baron. The axe is still selectable, I haven't changed that. Additionally, I think it is very important for me to show off the Nailgun a bit more. So by all means, the Nailgun is the most advanced weapon in the entire mod currently. It has a whopping 3 firing modes, and for the record, just about every gun has 1, maybe 2. Your main fire is going to be regular nails, your alt fire is going to be a javelin that does a lot of damage but it takes 20 ammo, and if you press your reload key, as expected R by default, it switches over to lava nails, which is basically a more niche, super heavy demon killer. Instead of 2 nails per shot, it consumes 6. But I think you have to understand that this does damage. This does a lot of fucking damage. Again, it may chew through your ammo, that's expected, but you're only really expected to use this against stuff like Barons of Hell, against Arachnotrons, Mancubi, just all kinds of heavy/super heavy demons. Otherwise, the regular mode as well as the javelin do just fine against really everything else. This weapon really is what kickstarted my whole need for code, let's call it. I think I spent a solid 3 or 4 days just simply working on this. This was my first ever actual big proper code. I have never coded something to this extent before, ever. Okay, now to move on to the final part of the video. These are going to be some smaller changes that I think are absolutely worth to mention still. Key cards and skull keys now have their own unique sound effects. Yes, these are Quake sound effects because I love them so much. Armor pickups have received brand new sprites as well as a brand new tier that sits right in between green and blue. Whilst green armor gives you exactly 100 armor and blue armor gives you 200, red armor now gives you 150. Again, it's worth to remember that the weird damage reduction system of Classic Doom isn't really present in my mod. What I'm trying to get to with that is that green armor protects you just as much as blue armor does now. In other words, every single armor pickup now provides exactly 50% damage reduction. Something you may have noticed in my gameplay is that armor shards can only be picked up to 150 armor. The reasoning behind this is very simple. I found these to be pretty fucking busted back when you could pick them up to exactly 200 armor. The thing is that I litter the arena with these. There are armor shards everywhere. Like seriously, there's an armor shard nearly everywhere you can look. They give you exactly 5 armor per pickup. Considering how often they're being spread around, I think the fact that they could get you to 200 armor was a little bit too strong. And to offset that, they can only be picked up to 150, and blue armor still has a bit of a reputation because this is the only way to get to 200 armor. And for the final thing I wanted to show off in this video, these little shits are now in the game. So, long story short, there need to be more Father Demon types in Classic Doom. In my opinion, Father Demons are a little too strong currently. Shotgunners and zombie men and chain gunners can really fucking tear you apart in this, and imps as well honestly, especially with their melee attack. So what was my answer to this? This walking pile of bullshit with 20 health is now part of the demon roster. There are many more demons, obviously. I do not really want to show these off in this video just to avoid spoilers, but I want to show this one off because this isn't simply an addition that's currently in the game with no extra interaction, let's say. These guys have been brutal doomified, and to show off a before and after, I'm going to be putting the before video on the screen right now. As you can see, the sprite has been changed. They have been turned into the Unwilling from Doom Eternal and Doom the Dark Ages because I think this is such a good sprite. And now to show off their deaths, it's pretty brutal. And there's the head too. So, on top of the ridiculous amount of gore that I have been thinking of tuning down a little bit, except for the fists, I think this is pretty cool. As I was saying, on top of all of this, they actually have damage-specific deaths. It's going to be a little bit hard to see, so I can turn on slow motion, but stuff like the Desert Eagle actually punches a hole in their chest. Your fists basically completely blow their upper half, and the head comes off clean, flying. The machine gun and the minigun basically splits them open. Completely. Their shotguns fucking pulverize them. Very similarly to how the machine guns do actually. The chainsaw and the nail gun quite literally split them in half clean. There it is. Every singular custom demon that's going to be added to the Abyssal Crown is going to receive very similar treatment. Oh god, holy app. I have not talked this much in a while. I have not done a video like this in, oh my god, I think it's, since January. Before I end things off, I really wanted to say that I want to bring a sort of balance between commentary videos and videos like these. As it was probably apparent, especially in the beginning, this video was not scripted at all. This has been just me talking with no script, no nothing, no preparation. I just kinda hopped on and I started to yap. So definitely expect videos like these in the future, especially development updates, because these are really fun to make. Thank you so very much for watching as per usual, and I'll be seeing you all in the next video.